Oh, my appeal was rejected. Probably because my name is an Osmongold. That's fine. I'll let it slide. It's just once. Like I said, worst case scenario, I just go back to fucking D Live. I don't.
Okay, so Barbara texted
Uh-huh.
and she said, "Hello, I've missed you guys. What's going on? Did your job schedules change or what?" We had a group of 9 that went to Olive Garden Sunday, very enjoyable, and it was Randy Grams' birthday, so we sang to him and embarrassed him. Fun, fun, fun.
Oh yeah. That's nice. Just tell her that I don't know, what are you gonna tell her?
So far, I put, yeah, his schedule had gotten more demanding, so I changed churches closer.
Just tell her which one.
It's called Emmanuel Baptist.
Manual Baptist Bible Church. Oh, guess what time it is? Guess what time it is? Guess what time it is? Guess.
I'm gonna shit in your okay.
Hey, you know what? It might make going to work a little more enjoyable. Just get me a fucking. Get out there. Get. Wait, doesn't Twitter have streaming? That would be desperation now, wouldn't it? You can have a sip if you want. It's good beer.
Doesn't work.
Of course it doesn't work, you fucking dunce.
You.
Alright, who's hiring? Apply for that one. I can select multiple, can't I? Should I just hit apply all?
Want to sit in my lap dance?
No, I shouldn't hit apply all because I'm gonna get so many fucking emails from Zimbabwe, and I don't want to coach there. What's this place? Northern Ireland? We can do Northern Ireland. Hell yeah. and apply. Apply. Wales? Yeah, we can do Wales. Scotland? Yeah. Oh. I'm gonna apply to all those wonderful, sassy fucking places. No international teams. Part of me wants to do Mongolia. You know, I'm gonna apply to Mongolia. I'll be the new Genghis Khan. Alright, we can do Russia under 20s. I don't want to go New Zealand because they're a bunch of fucking fascist scum. Luxembourg under 19, sure. Do that. um, Israel. Yeah, you know what? Let's apply for Israel. Um, South Korea. Is there a? I really shouldn't be applying for international positions. I'm just gonna apply all. Fuck it. Mark all items as red. I need something going on in the background here. Maybe I'll play another hate video. Maybe I'll play some Andrew Tate interviews. Here
we go. When you go on YouTube,
Shut up.
the history of World of Warcraft 2 years ago with our Mists of Pandaria retrospectives and our cut content showcases. Today though, we're taking it to the next level, the complete history of World of Warcraft's life as a live game. We began every patch in every expansion in this a new regular series. So subscribe, hit that bell button, and let's begin.
That's a lot. Dixie new video? Well, we're just gonna watch this. We can watch the Dixie one after that, okay? Patch 1.1 launch day.
Release day, patch 1.1. Excitement, wonder, and perhaps a little bit of frustration. After all, that install process took 5 CDs. Once you have the game finally installed, though, you were greeted with that exceptional opening cinematic, your server selection, and character creation. A screen that many were stuck at for hours as they looked at online random name generators and tried to come up with something. And after all that was done, you were off on your way to Azeroth. And despite being released, this was not the first version of Azeroth. The game had went through an extensive beta testing cycle, and as such, its launch patch 1.1 had huge changes, with the first hitting players as they made their characters. Racials. First off, adding to how difficult it was to decide on a character, racial traits and abilities were introduced with this patch. Prior to this, the races in the game were only separated by their base stats, something that had been a staple of RPGs in the past.
I feel like almost all, like, doesn't Dungeons & Dragons have racial abilities? I'm like 90% sure it does. So I feel like racials and all that stuff was already in fantasy games to begin with.
After all, we'd rather be punched by a gnome than a Tauren.
Yeah, probably.
Due to the power of these new racials, back in 1.1, players absolutely could make the wrong choice, although for many, the difference in racial abilities was overshadowed by the fantasy of playing the character that they wanted. At this early stage in World of Warcraft's life, endgame had not even been reached, so min-maxing just was not on people's radar. Yeah,
nobody gave a fuck.
Int for being a gnome, that was great, but hey, some people had standards. In reality, the racial traits did feel quite major, though.
True.
Let's go ahead and do this interview here.
People's choices. Gnomes having escape artists to break through roots and snares made them feel like the slippery little gits that they are.
See, I forgot even escape artist was a cast. I forgot all about that. I thought that was just a button you just push, but you used to actually have to cast escape artist. What the fuck, man?
While undead had access to cannibalize, allowing them to heal out of combat by eating corpses. Grotesque, yes, but those little things really did help define the experience of players. Now, sure, there were some less interesting racials, but even they did manage to guide players towards certain fantasies and playstyles. Giving Tauren a bonus to herbalism did not amount to much of a gameplay benefit, but because it primed many Tauren players to pick herbalism, it would reinforce the idea of them being a race of gentle, flower-picking people. That same thing goes for some races that had bonuses to weapon skills. It was a small bonus at best, but orc players would likely stick with axes, while human players would likely make use of swords
and maces.
Lots of little touches like
this.
Wait,
didn't humans have mace specialization too? I think they did. Am I right about that? Yeah. Yeah, okay, I thought so. And then dwarves had only mace specialization. Yeah, but it's because humans were just better than dwarves. But, you know. And guns. Well, yeah, guns. Yeah, of course. The dwarves, that's the America race, okay?
I'm gonna decline.
Of the world,
guns and maces.
Really guided players' behavior, ultimately shaping how we all imagine Azeroth's denizens. 1.1, though, did bring far more, bringing World of Warcraft far
closer
to content completion. Patch 1.1 added a Nyxia's Lair and Molten Core. Mostly, instead of having full loot tables, they actually dropped placeholder gear at this stage, and this does suggest that Blizzard knew it would take quite a while for people to reach the end game of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it took most people months.
These raids were mysterious end game areas that required completing.
Like, I started leveling whenever I was on summer break between like 10th and 11th grade, and I didn't hit 60 until I was in school. Like, I was like maybe like a few weeks, maybe a month into school before I even hit 60. It took me months.
Pretty major quest lines to actually enter. Many players weren't even sure what a raid was at this stage. And despite being available from launch, the first raid boss to die, Molten Core's Lucifron, wasn't killed until the 20th of January. That's over 2 months after World of Warcraft launched.
Wow.
And while Nyxia herself did fall on the 30th, making the first raid complete, Ragnaros would defend the Molten
Oh my
Core
God.
until the 25th of April. A pretty massive time as compared to today's raid bosses.
Yeah.
Gearing up and completing raids really was a long-term goal in this era, and I think those timelines really do show it. Patch 1.1 also added a ton of quests across the world, with both the Eastern and Western Plaguelands seeing major additions. Then also, prior to 1.1, the Horde really got the short end of the stick, as both Ashenvale and Desolace
That's
were,
why.
well, desolate for them. 1.1 changed that,
Yeah, Horde
greatly
sucks.
bolstering the Horde questing on Kalimdor, giving them a lot more variety than just shades of red and brown. Going from Durotar through Barrens down to Thousand Needles and then into Tanaris, well, that would have left some unfortunate players staring at dirt and dust for
I
weeks.
guess.
The Barrens, of course, being so central to the Horde is what defined a significant portion of early leveling for those players, and we all know what Barrens chat was like back then. If you didn't experience it, well, I think you know its reputation.
The beta's end. All right.
Patch 1.1, as well as adding things, also removed a lot of failed beta experiments. Blizzard had many ideas for the game, and not all of them were winners. To begin with, they replaced the Tauren's planes running ability. Now, this was basically just a ramping move speed increase.
This is, it basically increases your running speed. The longer you run, the faster you go up to a maximum speed. You cannot use planes running in combat, underwater, or indoors. So you basically, like, Tauren would pretty much have the exact same ability as what are those guys that are the cats or the dogs, Gilneans, or what are they? Worgen. So they would have the same fucking thing, and it never actually made it to live servers, unfortunately. I don't think that it did. Maybe it did. I don't know. But I thought this was always a really fucking cool thing.
That Taurens had in favor.
Nothing is more important than
As
this.
they ran, they would get faster and faster until they reached the appropriate
I don't care.
speed after 10 seconds.
Okay.
Unlike regular mounts, this would cancel on hit, not just on days, as well as upon stopping movement.
Fuck no.
This made for a very
Here.
start-stop experience for torrent movement during
It's really
the beta.
fucking funny,
of
dude.
course, in an attempt to keep it balanced with mounts, Blizzard
Woman.
still had to make it that frustrating in the past. If it did not get cancelled on a hit, then Tauren would have been able to
I don't
make
care.
mount speed in combat,
don't
making
care
them
about
both
you.
very powerful in PvE and PvP, especially for hunters who
I mean,
could attack
they're
on
really
move.
big
Of course,
cows.
that's not
Bella.
all. Players
They've
also
gotta be
reported
strong.
activating it when they didn't want to, with
That's what makes
unexpected
sense,
speed
right?
boosts, leading to all
Give her
sorts
here
of
a holder till you
catastrophes.
get back.
It's a bit of a shame they couldn't work out the balance of this, because it definitely
on,
was a
pups.
unique thing for the Tauren. While the Kodo mounts that they added as a replacement look
She'll
fine
be
and do
back.
fit the Tauren well, you really can tell they were late additions to the game, as mounted
then you can
Tauren
go
were
back and
not
lay on
taken
her
into
lap,
consideration
okay?
when
Gotta
Blizzard
wait.
made doors. In fact, the Tauren themselves were so large that they could not jump through the window to get into Molten Core. They instead had to use the entrance located at the back of the Blackrock Depths. That's far from all that they removed, though. Next, we've got a glance at one of the potential missteps that Blizzard swerved away from at the last minute. They reduced the durability loss from combat and added the 10% death penalty to make up for it.
There you
Now,
go.
before this,
There you
there
go.
was no death penalty beside having to corpse run, although they did toy with XP loss early on in the beta. On that
Oh,
front,
dude.
they also changed the spirit healer behavior.
Oh,
We've all
dude.
been there
I-
before. You're exploring an area, you shouldn't get into it, and a mob
Bill Gross to
crushes
play
you.
WoW for
The
6
track
hours.
back would be
A what?
So you would
I said I'm
begrudgingly
sure she
accept
would
the
kill
summoning
for us to
sickness.
just play WoW for
Though
6
in
hours.
Yeah, she would.
Summoning sickness's duration scaled with
Fuck
your level
Malaysia.
beyond 10 minutes, and it did 100% damage to all of your gear.
Longford.
Sounds rough, doesn't it? Well, before
Sure.
that, instead, it
Wow.
removed a chunk of your experience. Most MMOs in this
Wow.
era did punish death in a decently hardcore manner, removing
Wow.
either experience or items. World of Warcraft actually broke this convention by only punishing you with a little walk. For an
Holy
example,
shit.
Final Fantasy XI would remove chunks of XP on death, resulting in players having to re-level if they died too often. World of
See, for me, I'll be honest, like, that was something like, it's like if there are games that I lose experience for dying on, I just don't really play them a lot. I lose interest very quickly. Like, that's to me, like, that's my cutoff. And I just...
Singapore? No.
I what happens is I just stop having fun.
Piss.
Because
No.
the way that I look at video games is I always want to be
No.
progressing towards something.
Magni?
And if I feel
Ooh,
like I'm
Iceland.
actually
Yeah, let's
actively
go there.
losing progression, I stop enjoying the game, because now it's a stressful event that I have to think about and worry about and get upset about. So yeah, I don't like games that punish you for dying in that way. Like if I ever feel like I'm losing progress or losing time I've invested into a game, I very, very quickly lose interest in the game. It's the same reason why in Black Desert, for example, like I just quit the game as soon as I figured out the way that they did jewelry and a few other things, right? I was like, this is just taking too long and I'm going to lose too much progress. And I don't have fun with it. Dark Souls is like that? Well, not really, because you can get your souls back. And it's also a single player game, and there's nothing in Dark Souls that's as much of a time investment as like MMOs, right? It's basically like Dark Souls is a pretty casual game. I mean, you play Dark Souls, like you can beat the game in like 20-30 hours. If you die, you lose like maybe 20 minutes of progress at the most. It's not a big deal. But yeah. Diablo 2 has experienced loss and death. Well, no, I know that there are a lot of games that do have that, and to me,
Yeah, I don't really want to fucking coach in
I
Israel.
just feel like it makes me feel like I'm wasting my
Such a
time.
turn off, really.
And if I ever feel like I'm wasting my time playing a game, I just quit the game.
Sweden? Yeah, fuck
Warcraft
yeah.
absolutely was a game designed for casual play at the time, as compared to its contemporaries, even though it did have high time requirements that make a lot of modern players maybe think that's a bit hard to believe. This for sure contributed to why World of Warcraft has been a household name for over a decade. It was pretty easy to get into and very easy to keep on playing. Then for general changes, this patch removed the spear weapon class, renaming it to polearms. They must have figured that using only spears was too limiting, and instead they wanted to use a more catch-all term that would include things like halberds and glaives.
They should just call them
The classes that could wield polearms in this patch were the hunters, paladins, and warriors, although, like with many classes, they had to find a trainer to teach them. Given that polearms had been underrepresented in the game and the animation set for them,
they're
never
still
really made
underrepresented.
sense for a spear or a polearm. This seems like an unimportant change, but it does let us know what Blizzard were thinking at the time. Of course, many lamented the inability to wield a one-handed spear along with a shield for a particular brand of warrior fantasy, and there were other basic casualties, such as rogues no longer having a buckler. Now, on the topic of gear, patch 1.1 also removed the ability to swap armor in combat. Now, before this, anything could be worn or taken off. Vanilla was full of really interesting and sometimes unintended weapon swapping behavior, like warriors swapping weapons along with stances and rogues initiating ambush with a dagger, but then changing for a slower weapon before the damage calculation happened. More generically, this enabled offhands and on-use effects to be swapped in, activated, and then swapped out, like the Skull of Impending Doom.
I didn't even know about
this one was just wild, particularly in PvP. You see, it would do some self-damage, and that would potentially break a polymorph. Then you would get a 60% move speed buff for 10 seconds. Now, imagine you're a mage, you've polyed somebody, you've blinked away, and suddenly they're running at you at 60% move speed. If it wasn't removed, armor swapping, in addition to things like that, also would have given players the ability to just get naked right before they died in order to avoid durability damage.
The best fucking version of that was before they changed being able to not swap your gear in arena as soon as the match begins, is you would queue up and, like, let's say you had like shadow resistance gear or like frost resistance gear from like you know, fucking like tanking or you know, Mother Shiraz. As soon as you'd see that you're playing against a warlock, you just equip all your shadow resist gear. And the warlock couldn't fucking do anything. And like eventually they changed it because people were getting so fucking mad they couldn't even play their class. It's hilarious.
It would have made your corpse finding travels a little bit more awkward. Now, this could have enabled some very interesting mechanics, but I think it's quite clear that armor swapping would have been far too much. Honestly, this might have even resulted in tanks carrying tank and DPS gear and swapping in between them in time with boss swings for their own ability usage, which would have been ridiculous. Wild.
Classes.
1.1 also added Paladin and Hunter talents. Yep, these were unavailable until the last second. While I
That's because Blizzard originally planned for Paladins and Hunters not to have talents to make the game more realistic.
Don't believe either of the classes were noticeably worse than others. This does show the kind of timescales for implementation that we're working with when it comes to vanilla. Blizzard were right up to the wire with so much of the game, really core fundamental parts of the game, and really at this stage some classes needed a lot more love than others. In fact, this patch significantly changed Paladins across the board. They renamed the seals to Blessing and then added new seals, removing some of their auras like Healing Aura, but splitting Resistance Aura into separate spells rather than just being one combined. Now, hunters didn't get major changes, but they did get access to their track spell, and Blizzard made a very important
Track mailboxes, by the way.
In a move that, well, saved the hunter class fantasy quite a bit, renamed outdoorsmanship to survival and ranged combat to marksmanship.
Outdoorsmanship?
Perhaps they were placeholder names, but
what
they
the
certainly
fuck?
were awkward.
Wow,
of course,
okay.
other classes had interesting changes too. Warlocks learned the Fell Hunter, Inferno, and the Curse and Ritual of Doom in this patch. Now, while the Ritual of Doom is not exactly the most reliable ability in the universe,
we should just call that from now on. Like, if we ever see a survival hunter, it's an outdoorsman hunter. Well, it actually kind of makes sense because they're outside of the raid because they don't get invited because they're fucking melee, you know? Nobody wants to have a melee character that can play range. So actually, you know what? It kind of did come full circle, and it makes sense now.
it is extremely flavorful. Having a full
Legitimately, you're done downloading.
Doom Guard, knowing that one of them
It
will
is?
die, that's a pretty exciting event. And even worse, the Doom Guard was hostile and it needed to be enslaved.
Yep.
Now this meant that if the ritual's dice rolled such that the Warlock died, well, the Doom Guard would just run rampant on the surviving 4 party members.
Hey, fuck
a
'em.
very exciting
Fuck 'em,
experience, maybe not a beneficial one, but certainly a lot of flavor. Now, one of the most important class changes in this patch, and a controversial one that you have no doubt heard about, is the addition of priest racial abilities. Priests had 2 unique spells depending on what race they were, tying into the fact that each priest would have been following a different religion of sorts. So over on the Night Elf side, they had access to Star Shards, a weak version of Starfall that could channel on a target for damage, and then a Loon's Grace, a 20% dodge cooldown.
That's the Holy
Humans
Spirit.
had access to Desperate Prayer, a small self-heal, and Feedback, which was a cooldown that damaged and burned the mana of
those are
magical
Protestants
attackers. The
and,
Undead had Touch of
Puritans.
Weakness and Devouring Plague, whereas the Trolls had Hex of Weakness and Shadow Guard.
I can't make
Most
jokes
of these
about
spells
that.
were little bits of race-themed flavor,
Could
but
be
there is
could be
one that
racist.
stands above the others, quite significantly.
The dwarves.
in addition to having Desperate Prayer, had Fear Ward. Now, Fear Ward was a buff that protected against the fear
Yep.
effect. It lasted for 10 minutes, and it had a 30-second cooldown. And yeah, that one
it's
is just
ridiculous.
wild, especially given how
It's
powerful
insane.
and common fears were in both PvE and PvP. This was just an insanely useful spell, and while the Alliance and the Horde had tons of contention over their faction differences, Fear Ward was one of the biggest talking points.
That's fucking broken, dude. Like, how does Horde manage without Fear Ward? Yeah, it's fucking insane. Like, every other class... Like, I thought Fear Ward was removed as soon as you cast a fear. It was like immunity from one fear. But no. You would just have it on for 10 minutes. Like, nobody can fucking fear me. I'm invincible to it now. That's insane, man. Of course, Horde are better? Yeah, right.
Priests
Good
had this
joke.
perception of just being the best priests thanks to this one spell, even though the other priest races did have their own advantages. By the time that it became available to everyone years later, Fear Ward had been severely, severely nerfed. There was one more notable
Thank
change
God.
here with classes and spells. Reagents were now required for a multitude of spells. This is another aspect of the role-playing game focus that the game had in this era. Slowfall for mages and Levitate for priests, well, they needed light feathers, and those dropped in various places around the world. I wish we had the stats on the number of players that were falling and just died immediately because they did not have the feathers for their Levitate.
So I actually learned this while I was jumping off of something, that you actually did need light feathers to use Levitate. I had no idea about this. It's a big surprise to me. But yeah, apparently you do need that. 1 second, I'm gonna read these real quick. You're a single reason why I have joy for WoW. It's completely amazing watching you and the joy it brings you, not to mention the knowledge that you have. Thanks for being such a great person. Smokey, thank you very much for the $15. I appreciate that, man. Again, another one. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Keep up the excellent content. Makes it like real quick. Can't wait to see your WoW Classic experience. I made a video too. Maybe check it out offline sometimes. Tweet it at me and I might look at it, but I have to do it offline. I forgot to add the message first time. Fuck my wife. If chat doesn't watch your most ethical way to watch for Talon's Vengeance rap video, they probably should. Also, Twitch Prime, boys. Thank you very much. I appreciate the 5 Crumb Cratcher. At least whenever your boyfriend comes on your head, you don't have to wash your hair. What? When did I say that?
He's saying the wrong part of this.
Just
I
like
know,
a
because
random
it's brand
fucking message.
new.
Thanks for the $5, man. Appreciate that, I guess.
It literally came out. Not even
I'm
a
not
month
sure what the
ago.
numbers are, but I'm pretty sure they're high.
game.
Shamans needed reagents for water walking and water
I don't remember
breathing.
that.
Even more significant than that, though, is Druid's Rebirth. This spell, a combat rest,
Didn't it need,
was
like,
extremely useful in group content, but it
some
required
item.
a seed,
Yeah.
and the type of seed changed depending on the rank of the
jeez.
spell. Acquiring these was just as simple as buying it from a vendor, but sometimes Druids would...
You guys remember that girl, Corazil, or Cora, that I streamed with like 3 years ago? So this is a really, really, really long time ago. She was the blonde girl that I streamed with. Like, you go back and look at my VODs, right? And so anyway, she, yeah, most of you guys don't remember. I probably have more viewers now than I had followers back then. So yeah, there were a lot of people, right? And so the first time I ever played with her, I asked her to battle res me in a fight, and we were doing like Stonecore or something. And she said she didn't have the seeds for it. I kicked her out of the fucking group.
Oh,
I was like, you're not going to come into this raid. You're not going to have your fucking eye. I kicked her out of the fucking group. I got her out of there.
Get in.
The seeds, yeah, they have a, I remember these very, very well.
Would run out, and if you valued your raid spot or the friendship of your dungeon group, well, you would make sure you were not one of those druids who ran out. So there you go, that is basically everything of real note that changed in patch 1.1. It's a patch that still would have been a bit rough for sure, but it would have been magical, with Blizzard somehow pulling everything together into a cohesive experience, even when just a few beta patches ago, the game had systems that likely would have limited its growth. They really did pull some magic out of the hat for this one. It really is incredible how much World of Warcraft changed in its
I'm getting hired, like
development, but we're soon going to see how
somebody,
much World of Warcraft changed as a live game.
Inevitable.
Because patch 1.1 by no means
I don't know
was a
why you
complete
wouldn't hire
version
me.
of vanilla World of Warcraft. Classes were spotty, loot had its problems, features like battlegrounds did not even exist yet. We're going to see a lot of change, continuing with next week's episode, Patch 1.2. So, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more, and if you would like to directly support the work
I didn't even know all this shit happened in patch 1.1.
consider subscribing to our Patreon, where we've got monthly art packs, and this one's is Paladin. Plus, we also have 2 bonus items that I think you'll like quite a bit indeed.
Next week we'll be
Thank you
playing
very
Classic.
much for watching, and I'll see you next
You know
time.
what? I'm not even gonna wait. I'm gonna take that.
New 8-minute classic video. We watched that before, okay? We already did look at that, okay?
Let's do it. Well, a little bit more money. Oh shit, they walked it back. Whatever. I don't have a reputation. Hey yo.
Dude, how are you drinking so fast?
I just got hired by an Irish soccer team, that's how.
You're drunk, aren't you?
I wish.
You're on beer number 5. I hope you know. There's nothing left but trying to drink it.
Come on.
Fucking dork.
Want to smoke?
Bella said no.
Shut up, Subwoofer. Here. Well, you know what? You don't need to get me if we're gonna smoke. Come on. Honestly, I probably broke it in or re-broken it enough to where it's not. Yeah, it's fine. Come on.
Literally call and do everything at the most inconvenient time. Much. What do I got?
Let's go, woman. You're on my time. Let's go. Come on.
Okay, well, I'm trying to get to Pokemon.
I don't care what you're doing. I'm about to smash his fucking bottom. Don't get out of that shirt right now. If he's playing that too.
I just wouldn't
I
go.
wasn't smash the bottom of my head so much up there Pokemon.
Because he wanted more beer.
Alright. Yeah. Hired. Awesome. Best spell success competition. Win. History don't matter. Team report. Best starting. I don't care. That's cool. Confirm. Ah. We're gonna go ahead and place one for GM too. Because I don't want to have to do a fucking thing. Yeah. I'm gonna take control of this shit for right now so I can get one. In fact, I'm gonna take control of all that for right now. And then once I get a general manager, I'll give him like all that responsibility. Contracts. That looks good. That looks good. Scouting. I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it at that for right now. Mm. No, I don't need this. Why did I do this? The fuck was I doing? 424? No, hold on. Let's start from scratch here. No, yeah, actually, let's load that 424 real quick. This was my jam right here. So let's quick pick. Hold on. Well, hold on here. Who's... Well, everybody's on vacation. Like... There's no point doing it right now. So... Decline. 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 Reject. Reject. So, where's the calendar app? Schedule. Okay, and how long is everybody on vacation? January 4th. Ooh, that's really close. That doesn't leave a whole lot of fucking room. Let's get a friendly going here. If you're not gonna be on it, yes. I'll go ahead and we're gonna go for the Sunday there. You know what? Some people might have church. Let's go for Saturday. We'll go and play our under 19s team. And we're gonna arrange like I think every week we should get a friendly in because there's really not that much room until the season starts. So we're gonna go ahead and go with nearby teams. We're just gonna pick some random ones here that are nearby, so we don't have to spend as much money to fly there or drive there or whatever the fuck people do in Ireland. Maybe ride a donkey or whatever. I don't know. Like it's not drunk driving if you're on a donkey, right? So like get the whole team together and I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what Irish people do. I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass. Middleton with 1D. That sounds like a prestigious fucking team. Okay. Hey, guess what time it is? Lady.
I'm about to get off.
Well, get off. All right, I need to. Okay, I'm currently under. They're both red. That's gonna throw me off. Hold on here. There's like nothing in the schedule. Can I arrange a friendly? Wait, what ranking am I? Hold on.
Can I close this?
You might as well. Close that too. Yeah. Wednesday I'll get WoW running on your computer.
What's Wednesday? The 7th?
I don't know, yeah. You're gonna have to get an SSD though.
How much is that?
They're not very expensive anymore. Let me look it up. Best Buy probably has them. Used to be an arm and a leg, but you're gonna want to run the server because you're gonna be running the server on your computer.
Separately?
Yeah, it should be able to run on there.
But it'd be your server, right? Be the same server
No,
as
it
yours?
would be a separate server. It would be on your computer.
Oh, so I'd have to have. Oh, I'd have to start all over?
Yeah,
So much work.
it would be like a separate life. Laptops and computers. Oh, look at that. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, here we go. Holy shit, those are so cheap now. Holy fuck. I don't think your motherboard has a port for these, so it's portable SSD. I don't think you want that.
I just want something
Internal
that'll work.
SSDs.
I want something that'll work on. Anyway, I'm gonna go start dinner. Make your.
$19? $16?
How much is the 500?
You don't need that much. This
I'm
is just for
curious.
WoW.
I'm just curious because that's $8.99 or $89.99. So for half that, it's a quarter of the price. Is it like a shitty SSD or something?
There's no such thing as shitty SSD if you take care of it, but you're literally, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a secret about SSDs. You put what you gotta put on there.
You leave it on there.
And you leave it on there.
Well, yeah, because does it use flash memory?
Flash memory loves to be read, hates to be wrote. Loves to be read, hates to be wrote.
Okay. Oh, you can get me one of those for Christmas.
I'm not getting you a fucking thing for Christmas, actually.
This is a good video. All right, tier 4 content is like, I want to know, because like the heroics and Burning Crusade were always remembered as like these super, you know,
The cat, what type of player you are.
I totally left this video playing, didn't
In
I?
general, the dungeons are going to give you better reputation for the amount of experience that you receive, and many people will just grind out dungeons for the majority of their leveling from 58 to 70.
That's
if you
right,
do this,
boys.
you can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone
That's right.
and have a big head start on the attunement process.
Exactly.
Whereas
That's
with
what
the
we're gonna
questing
do.
round, by the time you hit 70,
Yeah.
you will have to backtrack and run dungeons anyways to reach that revered level. The only downside is that it makes for a pretty stale leveling experience, at least in my opinion, so
It does
that's where the
suck.
balance comes in.
I mean, to me, dude, like, I'm gonna be honest. For me personally, leveling in dungeons versus repeating the exact
World
same
ranking
TBC quest again,
186.
bro, that's the same thing. That's the exact same thing. I've done those quests so many fucking times. I'm like, the only ones that I'm like kind of like a little bit unsure of are like the Shadow Moon Valley quest, because I would always hit 70 before I really did any of them. And this is what happened to me actually on the beta too. So besides that though, like, I've done every single fucking quest. So like, I just want to get 70 as fast as I can. If that's dungeon grinding, then I do that. If it's fucking farming ZG Raptors, I'll do that. Like, I don't give a fuck.
If you maybe want to do a mix, which is what I plan on doing, I would suggest doing the dungeons first because, as mentioned, the lower level ones in each hub give reputation up to the honored level. So to max
The history of World of Warcraft
His interest very quickly. Like that. This is a good video. All right, this is the video. Like, I've wanted to watch this video because I genuinely do not know how to get attuned for Karazhan. And I'm just going to admit it. I did it like literally over 10 years ago, and it's been a while. I love that graph though, or that little flow chart. That's great.
One of the first things that people think about when they think the Burning Crusade are attunements.
I think
in
of-
vanilla, most of the raids
Doesn't
had
matter.
some sort of attuning process.
Yep.
The most intense being the Onyxia attunement chain, where you have to globetrot across the world, killing dragons and
Yep.
collecting blood, escorting prisoners, and others were as simple as just paying your way in, as if it were an amusement park. The Burning Crusade takes
That's
it
what we're
to
gonna do.
another level, however.
TBC attunements were way more involved than vanilla WoW attunements. Like, a lot of the vanilla WoW attunements were like, oh, just get this item, you know, talk to this guy, kill this thing, and then you're done. Like, TBC attunements were like, they were an adventure.
And considering I'm sort of on a guide streak here with my class, race, and profession picking guides, I figured it might be prudent to also cover attunements. So
Yeah.
this video will include every single attunement, mainly for guide purposes. If you look
Yeah,
at this
I don't
chart
know
and
these.
see it as a bit daunting, I don't blame you.
It's
The
not
first
daunting,
thing we
just
need
get
to
good.
do is to familiarize ourselves with the phases for the Burning Crusade Classic.
Okay.
In the original release, everything up to and including High Gel, players could technically enter on launch. It's just that to get to the higher level raids, you needed to complete some quests that required bosses or chains from the previous level raids.
Makes
And
sense.
it wasn't until several months that guilds actually progressed to the quote endgame raids due to everyone's more limited
Look at that
knowledge
game cam
and skill
footage,
ceiling
dude.
at the time. But
Yeah.
as Vanilla Classic has shown, without restrictions, players can and will blow through these raids at
Yeah.
ludicrous speeds. So Blizzard saw to
I heard Joker say that he thought that people were going to kill Gruul on the first day. Like, they were going to kill Gruul on the first day of Burning Crusade. If that happens, I am going to laugh my fucking ass off. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's going to be so fucking good.
appropriate to lock many of them in the associated quest lines until they release in their
I
appropriate
think
phases.
Magslayer, you have to get an
The
attunement.
game
I
will
don't remember,
launch
though.
in Phase 1 with Karazhan, Gruul's, and Mechtherodon's
Gruul, you don't
layers
need an
unlocked.
attunement.
And then Phase 2 is your Serpent Shrine Cavern and
There's the
Tempest
guy,
Keep.
dude. One of the
Phase
best
3
boss
is
fights ever.
Hyjal and Black Temple.
One of the worst
Phase
boss
4
fights
is
ever.
Illiman. And lastly for Phase 5, Sunwell Plateau. All of these, but Gruul's Lair, Magtheridon's Lair, Zulaman, and Sunwell Plateau do require an attunement to enter. Blizzard did come out and say that you will be able to progress to the attunements before the raids are actually released. The example they used is killing Alar, which is required for part of the Black Temple attunement.
That's so good, because if they didn't do that, people would like wait, and there would be so much congestion as soon as the patch came out for everybody trying to do the exact same quest. It would be really bad for the game if they didn't make attunements available.
All right, well, I guess we're just going to have to arrange a friendly with a lower ranked team, then.
Which, again, is Phase 3. They also said that the attunements will eventually be nerfed, mirroring how they were handled in the original release.
Yeah, that's what they did.
So, just a short history lesson here. The Serpent Shrine and Tempest Keep attunements were hotfixed out shortly after Black Temple's release.
Yep.
So you can probably expect the same sometime
that was Hand of a Doll, the title.
Imagine. Karazhan, Hyjal, and Black Temple did require attunement until Sunwell was out, so probably at Phase 5 we'll see the same. And for the Hyjal attunement, the vials that you loot from Vash and Kael'thas got changed from only a few dropping per kill to one dropping for anyone who had the quest.
Yeah.
This was a 2.1 change, which should translate to Phase 3.
Yeah, there's no way they're not going to have it like that. Like, only 3 people getting the attunement, that sounds like complete fucking bullshit. There's no way that's going to happen. They're going to make it drop for everybody. I would be okay. Like, there's a big part of me that wishes that, like, the attunements were account-wide. Because, like, having to do the attunement on every single character is, like, it's just so much time that you have to spend. At a certain point, it's like, fuck, I don't want to play another character because I have to do, like, all this other secondary stuff. I like the idea of getting attunements. I just don't like the idea of doing the exact same attunement over and over again. It's funny that people say that they don't like that, but then they complain about having to do Torghast on every character every week. Because it's
have you made any decisions regarding
Sven made a pretty good argument for having attunements be character specific whenever I talked to him about it, and he said that one of the good reasons for it is it populates the lower level dungeons and stuff, and I can accept that, and I think that's a good reason to keep them character specific, but it is certainly a big barrier to entry that would definitely make me reconsider like leveling another character because of how much time it would take.
Ultimately, it is up to Blizzard on when they decide to change all of this stuff. They have been wrong before, so it's something I'd advise that you just look up if you're watching this video mid or late expansion.
Yeah.
So, I figure the best way to do this is to just start where everyone is naturally going to start, and that's with leveling. Through this attuning process, you'll need to visit several heroic dungeons, and to do so, you need to be keyed for them, which you can buy at the Revered Reputation with the 5 dungeon hubs in the game. I'll get into this more thoroughly later on, but for Hellfire Citadel,
well, somehow goes famous hands out version.
For the Horde, for Coilfang Reservoir, this is Cenarian Expedition. Lower City is tied to the Auchendoon hub. The Keepers of Time is the Reputation for the Caverns of Time dungeons, and the Shatar is the Reputation for the Tempest Keep hub. The Quartermasters, where you buy the actual keys, are found in the respective zones where the hubs are found, and are listed here for your convenience. I'll also have them linked in the description if you have trouble
finding them. These are super easy to find.
You get reputation for these hubs by completing quests in the respective zones or through dungeons. The lower level dungeons, listed here, give you reputation until the honored level, and the higher level ones give you reputation until exalted. The Shatar.
I think what I might do is I might just try to get all of the friendly rep for each different dungeon and then do all the quests. That way I can maximize my rep as much as possible and spend as little time possible just farming the same fucking dungeon over and over. Because that's definitely what it's going to turn into.
Is kind of tricky because there aren't a whole lot of quests for them, and the dungeons require flying to enter, so really it's something that most people save for level 70.
Yeah.
So your strategy will really depend on what type of player you are, but in general the dungeons are going to give you better reputation for the amount of experience that you receive, and many people will just grind out dungeons for the majority of their leveling from 58 to 70.
That's
if you
right,
do this,
boys.
you can knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
That's right.
And have a big head start on the attunement process.
Exactly.
Whereas
that's
with
what
the
we're going to do.
Round, by the time you hit 70, you will have to backtrack and run dungeons anyways to reach that revered level. The only downside is that it makes for a pretty stale leveling experience, at least in my opinion, so
it does
that's
suck.
where the balance comes in.
So, look, we see this as an interesting or a coincidence, if I may, that that he would so haphazardly, Twitter would so haphazardly push this distraction. That is a full of old news, if you think about it. And at the same time, Twitter is facing very real and very serious questions about the rising volume of anger, hate, and anti-Semitism on their platform, and how they're letting it happen. And, you know, the president said last week, more leaders need to speak out and reject this. And it's very alarming and very dangerous.
I mean, to me, dude, like, I'm gonna be honest. For me personally, leveling in dungeons versus repeating the exact same TBC quests again, bro, that's the same thing. That's the exact same thing.
I'm about
I've
to
done
just go
those
hire
quests
somebody to be my general
so
manager.
many fucking times. I'm like, the only ones that I'm like kind of like a little bit unsure of are like the Shadow Moon Valley quests, because I would always hit 70 before I really did any of them. And this is what happened to me actually on the beta too. So besides that though, like, I've done every single fucking quest. So like, I just want to get 70 as fast as I can. If that's dungeon grinding, then I do that. If it's fucking farming ZG Raptors, I'll do that. Like, I don't give a fuck.
If you maybe want to do a mix, which is what I plan on doing, I would suggest doing the dungeons first because, as mentioned, the lower level ones in each hub give reputation up to the honored level. So to maximize it, get it to honored with dungeons, and then save the quest for after, and you'll save yourself a lot of time at 70 trying to attune for all these heroic modes, and at the same time you actually get to go out in the world and do some quests. That's my preferred style, at least. In my opinion, there's no right nor wrong way to do it. Just do what you think will be more fun for you, since after all, that's why you're playing the game in the first place.
No, I'm
Or at
playing
least
it
I
for my
hope.
ego.
Some people have more fun questing,
Playing it for
and
ego.
exploring the new zones, and some people find it more fun to do things efficiently. But
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun. Like, the ideal world, right, is like me and like McConnell and S-Fan and the boys chilling in Discord all night long farming dungeons. Like, that in my mind is like that's the dream. Like, that's what it's about, man.
I digress. Starting with the actual attunement chain, level 68 is when you can start the Karazhan portion of the attunement, and I definitely recommend you doing it then because you may as well get some XP while you're attuning, right? No sense in saving this particular
Yeah,
part
actually,
for
that's a good
70.
idea.
If you really want to stay on top of things, you can head on over to the Caverns of Time at level 66 and work on
Dude, me and Zach, every time I see the fucking name, dude, it reminds me. We both had our fucking computers next to each other, and we would be like, bro, what dungeon you want to do? But I don't know, man, what dungeon you want to do? I don't know, dude. You want to do the Blackmore ass? Like, yeah. Let's do the more black hair. Oh, shit, dude. And we would say it back to each other like 10 times, and then we'd finally do the dungeon and ninja the trinket. It was great, man. That's the real experience of Burning Crusade. And I've told the story before a few times. It makes me happy to tell it every time. And it's funny. What's so weird to me about it is, like, I don't think it's funny anymore, really, right? It's like, it's just stupid. But like, I remember when I thought that shit was the funniest fucking thing that we could ever come up with, man. It was the funniest fucking thing we could ever come up with. And then I see people in chat, and then they're typing, I'm like, oh god, stupid ass kids. And I'm like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I remember.
unlocking the Black Morass dungeon, as you'll need it later on. I'll go over that when we get to that part of the chain, though.
Yeah.
So, located in the southern Deadwind Pass and Eastern Kingdoms is Karazhan. At the base of the tower, you'll find an NPC named Archmage Eltris, who gives you a quest to take some well readings in the cellars and loot some quest items from the mobs guarding them.
Easy.
On this note, from this point forward, I
Okay.
won't go into extreme detail on the soloable quests. One is because the video would be 2 hours long. Two is
Ghostly
because they're
essence.
pretty self-explanatory. Kill these, go here, go there. I think if you have a
So are the raids available on release? Did they say that if the raids are going to be available on release? Okay, you can. Fuck. All right. I guess I might miss the first lockout for like maybe Magtheridon. That would suck, but like, I mean, who gives a shit? I mean, I'm gonna get the gear anyway. It doesn't matter. Like, Phase 4 is gonna be out for months.
For eyeballs, you should be fine. And 3 is to avoid spoiling things too much, because the whole tuning process is pretty cool, and I think it would be doing it a disservice to dissect it with extreme detail. I want to at least leave some of that discovery for you. But if you follow these quests until you get sent...
That's code word for I don't want this to be a 45-minute video.
...the Khadgar in Dalaran, he'll task you with collecting the key fragments to enter Karazhan. You'll be visiting some dungeons for these, and you can do all of the quests on normal or heroic mode. If you're 68, of course you'll be doing normal. The first one is held within the Shadow Labs dungeon in Auchindoun. It's the southernmost dungeon, but you'll find that you need a key to enter. In the original game, you could just commit Sudoku and run past the gate in Ghost form.
Now you can't do it,
but this is fixed for the re-release. You can't go through the door unless your body is already inside the instance.
Boys, selling summons inside Shadow Labs. 10G. 10G, dude. All you need to do, just buy just for 10G and you get right inside there. It's not a big deal. And you can't summon a Netherstorm, that's true, but you can summon over there. I wonder if they're going to change that or not.
You can, however, just have a rogue with 350 lockpicking open it. If you don't have one, though, lucky for you, keying for the Shadow Labs is very simple. You just need to run the Seth Calls dungeon, which is the one to the east.
Yeah, it does
In
seem
the
pretty
final
easy.
boss's room, there'll be a chest that contains the Shadow Lab key. Note that in the beta, only one person can loot this. I'm not sure if that's intended or not, but if it is, make sure that you roll it out. So, you now have access to the Shadow Labs, and at the end, in Murmur's area, you'll find this phylactery type device. If you have the quest, you can click on it to summon
I
an
remember
elemental
clicking
or
on
drop
that.
the first key fragment.
Yeah.
It is elite, so make sure that you have
Those things did a lot of damage. I remember that.
And returning to Khadgar, he'll give you a quest for the second and third fragments in one, which are held in the Steam Vaults dungeon in Coilfang, and the Architrave dungeon in the Tempest Keep. Steam Vaults is rather straightforward, no key needed for this. The phylactery is hidden inside the water pool in the middle of the dungeon. Just jump in right here and you'll find it at the bottom, and kill the elemental and loot your fragment.
This is why I remember when I told the story of my mom and Cody doing, my mom helping Cody do his attunement. This is what the quest was. I don't remember why they had to be in Steam Vaults, but yeah, this is what it was. It's for his, holy shit. That's so cool to see, man.
The Architrave requires a bit more work though. Man. This is the uppermost dungeon in the Tempest Keep,
this dungeon
which will
sucks
require
so much
flying
dick.
training to get.
This is the
you
worst
cannot
dungeon.
Summon up here, at least as of the beta, so the actual dungeon requires level 70, but you can start the chain to key for it at 67.
Yeah.
So again, something I recommend doing right away so you can get some experience while you're at it. The actual dungeon has a gate blocking it, just like Shadow Labs. And just like Shadow Labs, if you have a rogue, you can just have him or her open the door, requiring 350 lockpicking.
Dude, we gotta find a rogue.
But if you don't have one, at least one person in your group will have to do the key quest.
I'm just gonna get the key quest.
To do so,
yeah, I want to
head
just
to
have
the
them
Area
done.
52 and the Netherstorm and find this ethereal Netherstalker Cage. He'll send you on a chain of soloable quests where you collect insignias, kill named enemies, survey some spots, and the finale will require you to kill an elite dreadlord, which is intended to be a group quest. It is soloable by some classes. Here I am soloing it as a warlock, but I imagine if you're a warrior or something, you'll want to bring...
Okay, dude. Like, yeah, you had to use warrior as an example of something that you couldn't do it. Blacksmith keys aren't available. I don't even know if you can do it with the blacksmith keys. The way they used to work is the blacksmith key level was lower than a rogue lockpicking level. So rogues always were able to lockpick and open things that blacksmith keys couldn't open, if I remember right. I could be wrong about that, though, but that's at least what I remember.
Some friends. So you want to follow this chain until you get the quest, How to Break into the Architrave, which requires you to clear through the other two dungeons in the Tempest Keep, and that's the Mechanar and the Botanica. Just like the Architrave, these do require flying to get to, and you can't summon to them. The final bosses of each of these dungeons drop your key fragments, you turn them in Shatrath, and you get your Architrave key, and finally you can get the final fragment for the Karazhan key. Specifically, the key is located in this big room with the Voidwalkers.
That
It's
will
to your
aggro all at
immediate
the same
right
time
as you
if
enter
they're
the
anywhere
room.
near each other.
But that's not quite enough. Now we need to visit an old friend, Medivh, to restore the key into one whole piece.
But you have to talk to
Unfortunately
Medivh?
for us, he died a long time ago.
Yeah.
But fortunately for us, we have the power to travel through time.
yeah.
And you can find him in the Black Morass dungeon, which is located in the Caverns of Time.
Wow.
But to get into the Black Morass, you guessed it, you have to get attuned.
Oh my
And unlike the previous dungeons, rogues can't bail you out. Everyone in the party has to do this.
Oh my
A good thing though is that, as mentioned earlier, you can do this part
Yeah, so
as
about those
early as
alts,
level
guys.
66. So something I do recommend you take care of as you're leveling if you want to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
Wow.
So head on over to the Caverns of Time, which is located right here in Daenerys in Kalimdor.
Jesus.
There is a teleport straight there if you talk to Zephyr, who's located in the Barn Shatrath right here on the map.
Yo, I
This
didn't
might
know
not
that.
be in at phase 1 though, as it was originally added pretty late into the game. In
Yo,
the
put that
original
shit in
run.
phase 1.
Regardless, reach it, talk to the
That shit
Drake
in phase
outside
1.
and grab his quest to be sent down into the lair,
Please.
and you'll start the dreaded tour portion of this quest.
Yeah, it took
This
forever.
quest is rather infamous among players because
That's crazy. Like, I actually forgot about how many of these, like, little fucking, like, random attunements there were. It's like, oh, you had to get attuned to Black Morass. Like, I didn't remember that at all. That was the one I didn't remember, like, fucking whatsoever. I remember reporting from chat. I don't remember that at all. People said Shadowlands isn't alt-friendly. Bro, as I said, like, this is the kind of stuff that, like, yeah, later on, they made all of this shit account-wide. And now in Shadowlands, nothing's account-wide again.
Oh, look at
And,
the athleticism, my
yeah,
kid.
the TBC attunements were fucking nuts, man. They were insane. I like doing them. I just didn't like doing them on every character.
you
I
have
think
to
they're
take a
really cool
tour
to do
that
for the
takes
first
several
time.
minutes. You'll get spammed with whispers, and on PvP servers, you run the risk of being killed. And trust
Oh,
me,
that's a good
this
game.
spot is going to be camped like crazy,
Oh, Jesus
especially if you're on
Christ.
Fairlena. A tip is that you don't actually have to follow the custodian. You can just AFK right here where you pick up the quest
Oh.
and grab a beer or something and come back to a quest completion. And I did do some testing. If you do get killed after starting the quest, as long as you resurrect right when the custodian returns, you will still get credit for quest completion. So
That's a PvP server strat, dude. That's actually, I'll be honest, that is the most useful bit of information from this entire video. I can guarantee you already. That's actually fucking next level.
there's a tip for those on a PvP server. But once you complete it, you'll be sent to the Escape from Durnhold dungeon. Turn your quest in and accept the one to light buildings on fire. In these barracks will be clickable barrels, and you want to set all 5 ablaze to complete the quest. Then you kill the boss, progress into the castle until you find Thrall in the Sex dungeon. And here we have another escort quest, so proceed with caution and make sure that everyone turns it in before you start it. This
Yeah, we
particular
fucked that
escort
up.
is a little more forgiving than the standard that you're used to, as you start the actual escort through a dialogue option, not by accepting the next part. So
Yeah,
everyone
they-
can turn in
they
and
improved
accept
that
the next
pretty early
part,
on.
which is called Escape from Durnhold. So just make sure that everyone is on this part by checking your quest
Wonderful.
log, and then tell Thrall that you're ready.
I'm sure the board will be pissed because they
This part can be
didn't.
kind of tricky, as Thrall is full Zug and will straight up sprint.
They didn't
into
approve of that at
groups of
all.
Enemies with no regard to
That's
his
fine.
or your safety.
I don't think it's gonna be that bad. Like we did normal mode Durnhold keep, and it was like super fucking easy. Like one thing I'm really curious about is how hard these heroics are really going to be. Like of everything else, I'm actually more curious to try out the heroics than any of the other tier 5 content or tier 4 content. Is like I want to know. 'Cause,
There,
like,
now
the
you can
heroics
have
of
it.
Burning Crusade were always remembered as like these super hard like tests of skill, and you know you had to CC every mob, and like was this really because they were that hard, or was it because we were that bad? And I don't remember, honestly. I remember some of them were overtuned like a motherfucker, but we'll have to find out. We were bad. I think it's probably a little bit of both. Yeah, they were hard. I bet we probably, I don't think I'll be able to DPS tank like as soon as the game comes out with the heroics, but I feel like maybe a week or so after I get like maybe a couple of like resets of Karazhan gear, I might even be able to DPS tank at that point. And by tier 5, I think you'd be able to do it easily.
You just have to keep up with him, really. The best advice I can give is don't be afraid to let him tank, as he has a ton of health. You don't need to race him to the enemies. He
You
can
guys
hold
don't
his
think
own
so?
for a
We'll
bit,
see.
so get some sips before you save his finely toned green butt. From there, complete the dungeon as normal, beat the final boss,
Yep.
turn into the Blood Elf, and then get the follow-up quest, and you're now
I
attuned
used to have
to
that
the Black
shoulders,
Morass.
Warchief's mantle.
And your goal is to just complete it so you can talk to Medivh. This dungeon works a bit differently. It's like tower defense with your
I
party
always
as the
liked
towers.
this dungeon. My
Portals
job was
will
always killing the
continuously
ads.
open up and send enemies to kill Medivh, and it's your goal to keep them alive.
Yeah.
Every 6th wave is a boss enemy, with 3 bosses total. And after finishing, talk to Medivh, and he'll put together your key. And congratulations, because you can now enter the Karazhan raid. You can now fight every boss, except for the optional one, which is Nightbane.
The Nightbane
Using the term
attunement.
optional lightly there, because he is actually required for the Serpent Shrine attunement.
Oh
So,
my god.
how do you actually summon him? Well, you can summon him...
Dude, I really loved how all of these things were like intricately balanced against each other, right? And like how many of these attunements you had to do. It really felt like you were kind of progressing and like making...
I know
like,
what I'm
you were
doing
making
right now is
progress
like
in the
super
game.
risky.
It felt like, yeah, it was
but
like an adventure. And like I know, obviously, as I said, like I don't like doing it multiple characters. That's annoying. But like doing it for the first time, and like if you have like one main, I genuinely feel like it's kind of a cool experience to go and do these things. Is it annoying to like not be able to do it immediately? Yeah, it is. But like, I still feel like it's enjoyable. It's fulfilling. It's like, yeah, adventure, exactly. Yeah, it's an RPG. Like summoning special bosses. I wish they had more of this kind of stuff in retail, honestly. I hope that they add more of it. I'd love to see attunements and things like that come back to some degree.
On the outer balcony area, right next to the back entrance. To summon him, though, at least one person in your raid will need an item called the Blackened Urn,
Yeah, I
which
still
you
have
get at the
mine.
end of a lengthy quest chain. To start it, you need
Do I?
Honored
Maybe
with
I
the
don't.
Violet Eye faction, which you get by simply killing enemies in Karazhan.
I think this rep is
But
useless.
now, you may have heard about the week 1 Nightbane strategy. If you don't kill the bosses in Karazhan, you can continuously
trash?
respawn the trash and
Yeah.
farm them to get your reputation up.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you don't kill the Shade of Varan, as you'll need them in the process of unlocking Nightbane. So once you get honored, head back to Archmage Altruis outside the raid, and he'll give you the start of the chain, Medivh's Journal, which requires you to speak to a dude named Ravian, whom you can find in the giant room right after Curator. You'll be sent to a
Damn.
couple of NPCs nearby in the same room. You'll get sent to bring back Medivh's Journal.
Yo, I
from
totally
Shade of
forgot
Varan,
about all this.
then to witness an RP event on the balcony I talked about
This is
earlier,
where he
you
deletes
summon
the
Nightbane,
dragon.
and you'll go outside and dig up a bone, bring that back to Altruis, who then sends you to Kelana Lethred and Netherstorm right here on the map. She'll ask you to retrieve 2 bucks, one from the Darkweaver Sith, who's the first
Oh.
boss in the Sethic Halls dungeon, and another one from Grand Warlock Nethercurse, who's the first boss of the Shattered Halls dungeon.
Did they say if you're gonna be able to get epic flying for druids at the beginning of TBC? You can't. Okay, you won't be able to. All right, so they're not. It's in phase 3. I was curious. I
Both
didn't
of
know
these
that.
must be done in heroic mode, so as described earlier, you'll have to grind out the revered reputation with the respective factions.
Jesus,
In this
there's gonna be
case,
so
Lower
many
City
dungeon
and
grinds.
Honorhold
my
for the
God.
Alliance, and
Oh my
Thrallmar for the
God.
Horde. Returning those to Kalina will give you the Blackened Urn,
Wow.
which you can then use to summon Nightbane. And again, only one person needs to do this. There is a special note for the Shattered Halls. This also has an external gate blocking it, which needs a special key
You have to kill, like, a
or
Fel
rogue
Reaver
with
or
350
something.
lockpicking. To get the key, you follow a pretty
Yeah.
short chain. Head on over to the Shadow Moon Valley zone, right outside the Black Temple, right here on the map, and find a mob named Smith Gorlunk. He'll
You
drop
just
a
kill
quest
his ass?
starter that you turn
There
in
you
in
go.
Hellfire. The follow-up requires some trade materials, and after that, you'll have to take down a patrolling Fel Reaver in the
Yep.
same zone to forge a
Oh
key that
my
opens the
God.
Shattered Halls gate. The Fel Reaver is a group quest, so it's recommended that you bring 4 friends.
Or a
So
40-man
that's every
raid.
dungeon and Karazhan covered. Next, we'll cover Raid 1 of 2, released in Phase 2.
That's so crazy. All of that together, it's just, that's what you have to do in phase 1. You have to do that in phase fucking 1. Oh my God. If you rush content, you'll get burned out. I'm not going to try to be like world first, like level 70. I'm going to try to just play the game a lot and just do it at a good pace. Like, that's all. I just want to clear the raid at a good pace and do the content at a good pace. I'll play the game all the time, hopefully get some week 1 kills, but if not, it isn't the end of the world.
Do we
Like,
just
the
not
thing
have
is that
a youth team?
in Karazhan, like 2 or 3 pieces of gear
Whatever.
drop from some bosses, and there's 10 people.
I'll be back.
Like, it's so
So I'm just gonna save this one right here. And I'm gonna save game. And I'm going to end the stream. And then wait, I might come some wow. Maybe. I can just hit the damn stop button. Holy